Gosh, I hate those introductions. I could just see my mom in the front here with someone saying, "Oh, you must be so proud of David." And she looks at the person and says, "No, my other son's a doctor." It's so true. Well, I've been raising the stakes since I've been 5 years old. And gosh, I'm already emotional, so if I make some of you cry, I apologize. I got lots of issues. But I've been raising the stakes since I was 5. My dad left when I was 5, and my mom was a single mom with 6 kids. We were living in Akron, Ohio. And I decided I was going to raise the stakes at a young age to be happy. It was a different idea than most 5-year-olds had, but my idea was that it didn't matter where I lived, who I had in my life. My goal was just going to be happy. Now, how many of you, it's a little dark, how many out there would love to be happy? Raise your hand. I can see everyone's hand go up. In fact, if I could guarantee you happiness from the time you open your eyes until the time you close your eyes, most people think that's enough. Most people think that happiness is enough regardless of how much money they have, what relationships they have, what they've achieved. They think that happiness is enough even over their health. And so I started raising the stakes to be happy. Now, I grew up happy after my father left with my single mom. She was a wonderful, wonderful mom. She worked a tremendous, tremendous work ethic. She was a teacher, so you can imagine how much money we had. But she was a teacher, and then when she came home from teaching, she took all 6 of us into a country squire station wagon with packed dinners, peanut butter and jelly, bologna sandwiches, and drove to 7-Elevens to fill the turnstiles with greeting cards. And while she instructed us to all study. Now, it worked really well for my siblings. They all ended up at Harvard, Penn, Columbia. And my siblings would the older ones would try to read to me, the younger ones would listen to them, and I would be stuck in the middle saying one thing: I want to be rich. That's all I would say. I want to be rich. I don't need to read. I don't need to study. I want my mom to have a house and a car. That's all. I wanted to make $1 million, which when I was 5, $1 million was a lot of money. I wanted to make $1 million so I could buy my mom a house and a car, because the only time I wasn't happy after my father left was when I'd catch my mom crying because the dishwasher would break, the car would break, and she had too much pride to ask for help, or the shame of handing food stamps to us to go to school. I wanted to be rich, to buy my mom a house and a car, to make her happy. So I decided to work really, really hard. And I believed that my happiness would be achieved by a consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit, pursuit of my potential. And although my siblings wanted to be doctors and lawyers, because my mom put a tremendous amount of pressure, in fact, I think her true belief was you were either a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. The funny thing about my mom is she stands about 5 feet tall. She's your typical looking Jewish mom, but she was a 3rd-degree black belt in the martial arts. She was, excuse my language, a badass. Now, she was a 3rd-degree black belt in the martial art of Jewish guilt, which I still think is more painful than if she actually was Bruce Lee or somebody. I guarantee I still have issues with it. And so my mom pushed us really hard. Now, I wanted to stand out and make all this money, so I decided, with the enormous talent that I was given and the unbelievable stature I was born with, that I'd be a professional football player. My dad's shorter than me, by the way. So I worked really hard to be a football player. Now, I always have felt like I'm the low end of the gene pool academically, but unfortunately for my family, and my entire family, I'm the high end of the gene pool athletically. And that's a real insult to them. But I worked really hard, and I actually got a scholarship to play football in college. And I played football in college. I used to tell people my only skill set, besides a tremendous work ethic of consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential, was that I could run scared faster than almost anyone could angry. And because I had 6 kids and a really big mouth in a 2-bedroom apartment growing up, I learned to juke and jive probably better than anybody so that I didn't get my butt kicked by my older brothers. And I decided I'd play college football. I go to college. My very first play, my freshman year, they put me out on the kickoff team, and the very end person is called a bullet. And so I was the fastest on the team, so I was the bullet to run down and tackle the receiver. So I run down on the first kickoff, and the guy catches it. I'm the first one there. I think, big play of my life. Here's the start of my NFL career, and he runs me over. Literally runs me over. I was 5'7", 147 pounds of pure muscle, and he was 260 pounds, equally as fast of pure muscle. In fact, I learned later, the next year, when I was watching the Kansas City Chiefs game, that was Christian Okoye, a guy they nicknamed the Nigerian Nightmare. But I quickly decided that I didn't have the skills to be a professional football player. I had the knowledge, and I certainly had the desire, but skills were going to be an important thing in my life, and maybe my mother was right. I should be a doctor. I was great at math, great at science, and somehow I was going to infuse my sports passion with being a doctor. So I was going to be a sports doctor. My oldest brother was doing his residency, and I went over to visit him in the hospital after the season, and I saw him in the hospital. And the first things out of my mouth at 18 years old was, gosh, I hate hospitals. He looked at me and goes, Dave, you hate hospitals? You're pre-med at this great school. You're not going to be a professional football player. You finally get it. What do you mean you hate hospitals? I said, well, I'm going to be a sports doctor. I don't need to be in the hospital. I'm going to be on the football field helping teams. He gave me a great piece of advice that I live with every day to raise the stakes in my life. He said to me, David, you need to be more interested than interesting. Be more interested than interesting. Ask extra questions. And I can't tell you, when I ran the most notable sports agency, Leigh Steinberg, most people know him from the movie Jerry Maguire. When I ran that sports agency, and still today, so many 18-year-olds come up to me and say, Mr. Meltzer, I want to be just like you. I want to be a sports agent. But they haven't been more interested than interesting. They know about as much about being a sports agent as I know about being a doctor. And I found later on in business that that lesson of being more interested than interesting would not allow me to cheat myself from success. That I was going to be an expert at what I did. And I was going to ask for help, and I was going to ask for knowledge. I was going to ask to help people with my skills, and it would also help with my passion and purpose, and certainly my profitability. So, like every other nice Jewish boy in my family, since I couldn't be a doctor, I decided to be a lawyer. And I went to law school, and I decided that I would be a sports lawyer, although way back then, they didn't really have sports lawyer programs. Some schools had certificates, others. So I went to Tulane University, and as a backup to be rich, I studied oil and gas law, maritime law. Because I figured, what better way to make $1 million and buy my mom a house and a car than be an oil and gas litigator in case I can't be a sports agent. I studied very hard. At the end of my law school career, I had 2 job offers. The first was to be an oil and gas litigator and make a lot of money, not necessarily help a lot of people or have a lot of fun, but make a lot of money. And the second was to work in the internet, to sell legal research online with the world's largest publisher of legal documents. So I go to my trusted advisor. Always in my young life, I had mentors, mostly my mother and my uncle. My dad was kind of an absent dad. But I went to my mom, and I said, Mom, what should I do? Should I sell legal research online, or should I be an oil and gas litigator? She gave me some of the worst advice I've ever had. She, without blinking, said, David, you need to be a real lawyer because this internet thing is a fad. So now, I was so struck because it was the first time in my life that I really learned another valuable lesson, which was simply, just because somebody loves you, and trust me, you've heard about my mom enough already, you realize she loves me way too much. But just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. Just because someone cares about you doesn't mean they give you good advice. Just because somebody works for you or you work for them doesn't mean they give you good advice. Seek knowledge from those who have the experience that you're looking for. Seek knowledge from those people that sit in the situation that you'd like to sit in yourself. It's the fastest way to get there, is to be humble and ask for help. What happens is when we ask people who we love, respect, honor for help about something they don't know anything about, like asking a second grade teacher about the internet, we end up resenting them. And now we have put strain on the most important personal or business relationships that we have, all in good faith and with good intention. So the first time in my life, I didn't listen to my mom. And the reason I didn't listen to her is I figured I'd hedge my bet. She made me take the bar, and so I told her that I'd give this sales thing a try, and if it didn't work out, I had to wait for my bar results anyway. I always could be a real lawyer. Anyway, within 9 months, I made my first $1 million. I was a millionaire 9 months out of law school, and I bought my mom a house, I bought my mom a car, and I paid off my law loans. And that may have been one of the happiest days of my life. One of the happiest days, because I had attached my happiness for 24 years to an outcome. I attached my happiness to those things for so long that I actually felt a joy that was equal to having your own children. It was so amazing. But then I continued my career. What next? Now I'm going to make more money. Constantly attaching my happiness to things that I could have. So I continued my career. I started branding myself a technology guru, not a lawyer. My mom still, no matter where I came, said, "This is my son, the lawyer." And I'd say, "No, I sell things." But I ended up on the Silicon Valley with a startup and raised $169 million. And by the time I was 30, I was CEO of Samsung's first phone division. Now, in the course of my 20s, I re-engaged with my father. And me and my father really didn't get along since I was 10 years old because one thing happened. He forgot my birthday. My father was talking about raising stakes, was a compulsive gambler. He cheated on my mother. My mother liked to pile on as well to make sure that we knew exactly what he did, thinking that would help her. But me and my father started to establish a relationship. When he forgot my birthday, I called him in tears at 10 years old, and I said, "Dad, you forgot my birthday." And instead of apologizing or sending me a gift or a card, he simply, and this was his personality, "That's okay, because I don't believe in birthdays." So his logic was not only would he forget my birthday, but for the next 20 years, he would continually make his point by not calling, emailing, letters, anything to make a point, although he was celebrating my siblings' birthdays and his sister's birthdays. Well, my dad tried to re-engage when I was 30 years old, and in the back of my mind, I thought maybe because of my financial success, my dad wants to be a part of my life. So I was really skeptical. For my 30th birthday, my dad sent me a jacket, and it was beautiful. And most impressive thing about the jacket was when I took it out from him, it had a card, but it fit perfectly, which meant that he actually took the time to ask one of my siblings or my mom or somebody what my measurements were to send me this jacket. I was so excited. I felt, wow, I think my dad finally gets this. So I call him up, and I'm wearing the jacket. I'm like, "Dad, thank you so much. This means so much to me. I've held on to this anger for 20 years. Thank you for recognizing my birthday." So I opened the jacket, and I looked down, and there's all the pockets ripped out. I'm deflated. I'm looking, going, "What the hell? You sent me, after all these years, a birthday present, and you ruined the jacket. There's nothing in it." I go, "Dad, is this a joke?" He said, "No, the jacket's not for wearing. I'm worried about you." So it's a little late to worry about me. I'm worried about you. What the F are you talking about, sending me a jacket with no pockets? And he said, "I'm worried about you because I don't want you to be the richest man in the cemetery. I gave you that jacket to hang in your closet and remind you every day that you're not taking anything with you. You're not taking anything with you. That started the relationship with my father. He earned my respect. Unfortunately, it was a little bit of foreshadowing. By the time I was 33 years old, I was married, had 3 beautiful daughters, and I owned every single thing that I wanted to own. Everything I wanted, I could buy. The only thing was, for the first time in my life, I wasn't happy. So I started buying different things. And I bought those different things and it didn't make me happy. And I bought more things and it didn't make me happy. And pretty soon I started surrounding myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. I had lost the lesson of always having 3 mentors, to living my life in radical humility, always asking for help, having people in the situation that I want to be in. I owned a golf course, I owned a ski mountain, I owned homes. I was retired in my 30s and unhappy. And I came home one night after partying, doing the wrong things, lying to my wife, and she's here, lying to my wife, and at 5:30 in the morning as I walked in with all the glass panes of our French doors in a Rancho Santa Fe home, I see her silhouette right there. Begrudgingly, I opened the door, intoxicated and probably other things, and she looks at me and she said, you are not a rock star. I looked at her and I said, I may not be, but I sure feel like one. Wasn't that funny to her? So she sent me upstairs, and when I came down in the morning, my dream girl, the girl that I've known since the 4th grade, she hated me. I threw an egg at her. The girl that I had pursued through my 20s to marry me was not happy. And in my mind, the first thing that came into my mind was, look around you. Look at the cars we have, the houses we have, the nanny that lives here. That's what went through my sickened mind at the time. And when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't believe what had happened. And my wife told me, you better take stock in who you were and what you want to become, or I'm out of here. Talk about scared straight. I've been scared straight twice in my life. That's the first time. The second time was later in my life. I used to chew tobacco, and my wife told me in my 30s that if I didn't quit chewing tobacco, that she would speak for me. And that scared me straight as well. I immediately went back and took stock in who I was. I lay down for one day depressed, and I thought about what 4, 5, 6 things it was that made me me. And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you. Say thank you before you go to bed, and say thank you when you wake up. And I guarantee you, if you can do that for 30 straight days, your life will change for the better. I promise you. I get thousands of emails. I have studied physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics. I have not found any great truth from studying those great sciences, except for one thing. Gratitude works. Simply say thank you. Raise your hand if you think you can say thank you for 30 straight days. Yeah. Most people raise their hands. I've been in front of thousands of people, and they all raise their hands. The saddest thing for me is by tonight, half of you won't say thank you. I've given you the biggest, simplest gift to change your life, and we're so far in our way that half of you won't say thank you tonight, and by tomorrow morning, another half of you won't say thank you, and within 3 days, almost all of us will not say thank you. It is so difficult. It's so difficult to do something every single day that I was still on stage teaching this, and it actually took me 9 months before I said thank you, before I went to bed, and before I woke up every single day for 30 straight days. Try it. That's how hard it is. But it will change your life. The second thing that I took stock in was empathy. Now, empathy was a little bit confusing because most people confuse empathy with sympathy. right? But I'm here to tell you, you cannot feel bad enough for someone to make them feel good. You cannot be poor enough to make someone rich. You cannot be sick enough to make somebody well. Empathy to me was much more powerful. Empathy was forgiveness. And I learned that you only had one person to forgive, yourself. Because you can't give what you don't have. You can't give what you don't have. If you do not forgive yourself, you cannot forgive others. In fact, when I started my company with Warren Moon, Sports One Marketing, being the sales guy I am, I came up with my mission statement. And it was about a paragraph of mission statement. I coalesce the vapors of human existence in order to create a viable and logical. And Warren's looking at me puzzled. I nicknamed Warren QB1 Kenobi because he's so wise. So he asked me, Dave, what the F does this mean? I was like, well, this part here means I want to create abundance. I want to make a lot of money because I can't give what I don't have. And so I want to make a lot of money so I can help people. He said, then why don't you just say that? Make a lot of money. And he says, okay, and you want to use that money, why? Not for myself. I have everything I've ever needed. It's to help people. I want to help people. I want to help all the people closest and farthest away from me. I want to have an impact in helping and being of service. He said, okay, help people. And we work in sports and entertainment, so I want to have fun. So our mission statements: make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Forgiveness is the exact same way. You gotta forgive yourself. If you forgive yourself, others cannot attack you. The third thing that I learned at an early age, it was accountability. I was in a state of blame, shame, and justification. I was blaming everybody for what was going on, justifying everything I did. I was living, as my mom used to say, below the line. Accountability is the most freeing thing in the world. To be accountable gives you complete control of everything. Now, as a lawyer, I always got confused about accountability, so I would ask my mom, if I'm stopped at a stop sign and someone comes and smashes into the back of me, how am I accountable? How am I accountable? There's no way. What did I do? I'm stopped at the stop sign. She said, you don't get it. That's liability. If you get crashed in from behind, you should still call your insurance company. Definitely don't sit in front of a judge and say, oh, I'm accountable. But the difference between liability and accountability are two questions. Number one, what did I do to attract this into my life? And two, what am I supposed to learn from it? Everything became a lesson. All those lessons are miracles. And you only get those miracles through accountability. And then finally, the fourth thing was effective communication. I had lived an inspired life. I had not only been consistent every day, persistent without quit, in the pursuit of my potential, whether it was football, medicine, law, money, family, whatever it was, but I lived an inspired life. Not only could I communicate and connect emotionally to people, because people buy on emotion for logical reasons, but I could connect emotionally to that which inspired me. And what I learned happiness was, as I went through these four things: gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication, what I truly learned was that an inspired life in connection was a true life, and the truth vibrated the fastest. And that if I could stay and live an inspired life, then I could inspire others to inspire others. And so I had to change my life around. Now, unfortunately, I started thinking about these things and doing all the right things, but all the actions from the past were snowballing. And sure enough, 2 years after my wife confronted me, I lost everything. I had over $100 million, at least on paper. I had a golf course, a ski mountain. I lost over $100 million. Now, I'd already started working for Leigh Steinberg. I already started living my life in the right direction. But I had a big obstacle to overcome. And the hardest part of the entire journey was understanding that my happiness that I attached all that money to was now derived by the enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. It was enjoying the journey. It was enjoying that journey. And regardless of what I had done economically, it didn't matter because I was happy. Now I walked into the house and I saw my wife there with her uncle, who also knew me since I was 9. And my wife was crying, and she was telling him that she was scared. She was worried that I wasn't going to be able to pull us out of this situation. And her uncle said something that really inspired me. He looked at her and he said, you know, I've known Dave since he was 9. Everything has always gone his way. I can't wait to see what he does with his back against the wall. That fired me up. I went back and I decided that I was going to enjoy this journey, but I had to figure out one more thing, because gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication, they were great, but they were all in the laws of the universe, which I believe in. But there's another law that a guy named John Asseroff taught me, and it's one that I think is instilled in Raising the Stakes, and as I've been a part of your organization for years, as I've traveled 200 days of my life. There's a law of Goya. And the law of Goya says, get off your ass. And I think that's a law that I see in your company. You know, you are people who get off your ass. But I had to do something, and I decided to surrender while I got off my ass. And that was such a contradiction. In fact, I think my wife was scared that I had gone crazy, because I told her, when she said, how are we going to do this? I said, I'm going to live my life at service. Oh, they have taken all our furniture, all our homes, all our cars, our motorhomes, our boats, everything away from us, and you're going to walk the streets of Calcutta? No. Mathematically, I'm going to be of service. I'm going to provide value every second of the day. I'm going to live with a lens of productivity and accessibility every step of the way. Every step of the way, I was going to be of service, including when I wake up, I say thank you, and then I pray that the universe or God or whatever you believe in will bring 10 people in front of me that I can help. And I started thinking about things. What if I did everything to be of service? And that's not without getting off my ass, but providing value to all the partners and family, providing value to my community, to my state, to the country, and even the world. I have enough energy to be inspired to be of service. And it doesn't mean I can't make money. It doesn't mean I can't make money, because the more money I make, the more people I can help. So I started living my life of service. I woke up and I prayed for 10 people I could help, and everybody I met, I said, how can I be of service? And if I walked by a piece of trash, I picked up the piece of trash. And if I saw a grocery cart loose, I'd take an extra minute and put it back. If I had to hold a door, I held the door. If I had to smile at somebody or hug somebody. I lived my entire life of service and trusting one mathematical equation. I lived my whole life taking. I lived my whole life thinking I could outsell, oversell, back-end sell, exaggerate, and sometimes even lie to get what I wanted. And when I did that, it created a void of all the promises that I made everyone. It created a void for me to fill. And I started realizing that I was human and that I couldn't fulfill all the promises. I was born under some myth of exceed expectations. I have to be honest, very rarely, unless someone has low expectations of me, do I exceed them. I'm literally just lucky to meet them. And it's a lot of work, because I think that I'm in control, that I'm going to go ahead and provide service because I promised it, because I want more. And when you do that, you live in a world of not enough. You live in a world of not enough. And I started realizing, although I was a multimillionaire, I lived in a world of not enough. Sometimes I lived in the world of just enough. There was always more for me to get. There must be not enough for me. And then I started being of service. And I started traveling around to help other people. And I started creating a void for the universe to fill. Just by being of service and surrendering. I still was working up at 4, down at 11 p.m. if I could stay up that late. I was of service to my wife, to my children, to my community, to my business. And I just opened this huge void, and then I'd ask the universe for what I wanted so I could give it to people. I stopped saying, God, things happen to me. I'm a victim. You know, you did this, living and not accountable. Things are happening to me. Then I transitioned to things are happening for me. I started being of service. I live in the favor of the universe. I live in the favor of God. I surrendered. Now I live in a world of more than enough. Everything happens through me. And more keeps coming. I'm just a vessel to be of service, to help others. And I stay inspired. I enjoy the pursuit persistently of my potential. I went to Africa, built a village in Africa. I'm building an empowerment center in Africa. But I went to Africa, and there's a woman in Kenya. Her name is Mama Jane. And I go to Mama Jane's house, where she built it herself. She walked 70 trips with water, 70 trips with water. 6 miles round trip, 70 pounds of water. She built her own house. I said, why didn't you ask someone for help? This is my house. And it had mud floors, and it had thatched roofs, and I went back 2 years later. She's the first person ever to have a TV. She has electricity and clean water and a washing system. And everyone from all the villages come to her. She's the head mama now. And my camera guy, Justin, who's sitting right here, as he's filming, he has tears, and he looks up and he says, Mama Jane, aren't the other mamas jealous of you? Because Justin and I, we come from Newport Beach, California, the world of not enough. Everybody doesn't have enough. They need a bigger house, a bigger car, bigger boat, whatever they need, there's not enough for them. But Mama Jane looks at him and she says, no, nobody comes to my house jealous. They come to my house and ask me one question: how did you do it? How did you do this, Mama? I want to do it for myself. They live in a world of more than enough. I have a friend that goes to, in Ethiopia, a little city called Kura, where they put the lepers years ago in the middle of the city where all the trash goes, and these people live off the trash. They fight for trash so they can eat, clothing, drink. Everything comes from the trash. There's now 200,000 people that live in trash in Ethiopia, in the city of Kura. Ironically, the people are happy because they live of service to one another. They live of service. They're happy. They live in a world of more than enough. So many times in life, we don't think we have enough. And we have to now switch and shift the paradigm. I call it a 120 rule. Let me give you an example. Does anyone out there have a $20 bill for me? Anyone? Come on, you guys own Denny's. You guys are loaded with $20 bills. Come on, somebody live in a world of more than enough. Do I have to get on my knees, please, Denny's? I'll tell a quick story. Well, oh, thank you. Come on up here.
I get it back, right?
Oh, did I say that? $20. I'd like to trade you $100 for 20. Does that sound fair?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. Anybody else have 20? Oh, yeah, now everybody raises their hand. So I decided, what if I shifted the paradigm and I actually carried the energy? I woke up in the morning and I dreamed that my whole room was filled with $100 bills. And what would it feel like if my whole life was trading $100 bills? My whole job every day was to say, can I give you $100 and have 20 back? Who here likes to give? Raise your hand. Everyone pops up. Who here likes to receive? So interesting, right? When I ask people who here likes to give, everybody's like this. When I ask who likes to receive, it's half and half, and everyone struggles. Believe it or not, the biggest problem we have is receiving. And the reason I believe we have a problem receiving is that we don't feel as if we're giving value for what we're asking for. We're living in a world of just enough or not enough. We're not providing enough value, so we feel bad. We feel that void. I did not feel bad at all trading $100 for 20. I carry this energy, whether I'm on stage, in a business meeting, on a TV show, in a podcast, whatever it is. I'm bringing 100 and asking for 20 back. And I do it in my personal life. I went to a family function the other day, and I walk in, and some of you may have felt this in your establishments, in your home, with your families or customers or employees. I walked in, and nobody noticed I was there. My favorite nephew, who usually lights up when he sees me, is looking like I'm non-existent right past me. And my mom, who I already told you loves me too much, didn't even wink, let alone recognize me. So for the first time, I felt my own energy. I said, I'm not carrying 120 energy. So I walked out of the party. I went outside, went to center, just found peace. I pictured all those $100 bills that I was going to be of service to my family, emotionally of service to my family, and I walked back in with different energy. Sure enough, my nephew lights up, my mom turns around, and once again, I get treated like the favorite child. Because I did forget one lesson. When I bought my mom that house and car, and I do have 5 siblings, I learned a very valuable lesson, by the way. Money does not buy love. It just rents the shit out of it. And I have been my mom's favorite child. Now, living in a world of more than enough, my mom is a classic example of that. When I lost all my money, besides disappointing my wife, who I was still secure in that wasn't going to leave me because she's never been about the money. She's always been about my good looks. Oh, that hurts. Everyone laughs so hard at that. And if you saw how beautiful she is right here, you'd really laugh. But she wasn't about the money. But I had to do something that was really difficult. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. So they literally came to my home and took furniture and took our cars and our motorhome, and we had to move out of all of these houses. But the hardest thing I had to do as I laid in bed when I decided that I was bankrupt was, one, I had to tell Leigh Steinberg, who was my mentor. I had to go to work and tell Leigh Steinberg that the CEO of the most notable sports agency in the world, that the young Midas that he hired to run this great organization, my dream job, my office was between Warren Moon and Leigh Steinberg, looking over from the Jerry Maguire offices, Catalina Island, that I was going to walk into the work that everyone looked up and respected me and tell them that economically I'm the biggest loser here. I have lost everything. But that paled in comparison to the other thing I had to do. I had to walk to my mother's house. I had to walk to my mother's house and tell her that she had to move, that I lost her house. I had to do that. Now, my whole life, I just wanted to make my mom happy. I wanted my mom to have a house and a car, and now I had just lost her house. And I had to walk over there with gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication to tell her that it was going to be okay. So I went over there, hardest thing I've ever had to do, and I told her, Mom, I was crying, still am. I got mommy issues way up the wazoo. I'm working through it. But I said, Mom, I have something to tell you. I've lost everything, and I'm accountable. And unfortunately, I also lost your home. She looked at me without blinking, put her hand on my shoulder, and said, can I give you some money? Can I give you some money? Because my mom lives in a world of more than enough. She's of service to her community, to her children. And she set that example, not by telling me anything, maybe a little bit of Jewish guilt, maybe a lot of Jewish guilt. But she taught me by watching her through my whole life, driving the Country Squire station wagon, going to work, being selfless, helping all those kids. And now she helped me. Through the hardest thing I ever had to do, she helped me simply by living in a world of being more than enough and being of service. And I learned so much about that. And so from there, When we live in the world of more than enough, we need to live in a world of productivity and accessibility. We need 3 mentors at all time. And it's a valuable lesson. I believe in 2 words, thank you, but I also put 2 other words on my nightstand. Radical humility. In order to ask for help, in order to receive, in order to provide 120 value to everyone we meet, we need to have radical humility. And in order to have radical humility, we need to find 3 people, no matter what our age is, no matter how old and experienced and successful we are, we need to find those 3 people. When I wrote my book, I didn't know anything about writing books. But I knew that Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill was my favorite book. When I was making money, I would read it, and I felt like every time I read it, I made more money. Has anyone read Think and Grow Rich? Napoleon Hill? I highly suggest it. So instead of being the old Dave, I'm going to write a bestseller by myself and be one of those people like some of my friends that are still writing their bestseller. I'm 8 books in. I have a McGraw-Hill deal. And all I did was went to Napoleon Hill Foundation, tell them that Think and Grow Rich is my favorite book, and can you help me write a book like that? Something that's inspirational, aspiration, and practical. Something that lives by the laws of the universe and the laws of Goya. And literally, with a little bit of help, they helped me write a best-selling book my first time. And they continually help. When I wanted to do a TV show, first I had to pick the right star, so I picked Dawn LaFrida. That made my TV show. Got to catch it. She's incredible. But I didn't know very much about TV shows, so I went to the producer of Undercover Boss because I loved that show. And I went to a director that did 20 different shows. And I asked for help. Ask for help. Live in a world of that radical humility which comes with being of service, because when you're of service, it makes you feel good not only to give, but to ask back for your 20. I didn't give my $20 away, I kept it. And you can do that in your own lives, your own businesses, your own family. There's 3 different realms that I coach people on. The first is the conscious realm. I teach people what to think, say, and do. And most of it is just to be of service. Think positive, act positive, all of those different things. There's nothing great. Live with gratitude, empathy, accountability. But then I learned through my coaching that what really stopped people, there's so many people that think, say, and do the right things. Do you feel you think, say, and do the right things? Everyone out there? I hope. No one's raising their hand. Come on. Of course you do. We're all think and say and do the right things most of the time. Where we get in trouble is what we believe. I have found that no matter who you are, subconsciously, we have limiting beliefs. And those limiting beliefs don't allow us to break through. We keep attracting the exact same things into our lives no matter what we do. Same relationships, right? I have 3 teenage daughters. I love it already, right? They date this boy, and they're oh, Dad, I'll never date a guy like that again. And then up pops the next boyfriend. He's the exact same. Just looks differently. Taller, shorter, fatter, stronger, who knows? But we keep attracting the exact same things. We hit a certain point in our success, right? And really, it's nothing to do what we think, say, and do. It's more about what we believe. And then worse than what we believe, subconsciously, we have an unconscious competency that we're not even aware of. And to make it more complex, it has a duality to it. And that duality is, number 1, energetic. We carry an energy that's unconscious to us. And that's why I believe in the 120 rule. That's why I believe in being of service. That's why I believe in karma, is that if we can shift our energy, why not allow things to happen and trust that they're going to happen? Let me give you an example. So many kids today ask me for advice. I want to be a sports agent. How do I get to be a sports agent? What if I told them this? Go to law school, sell legal research online, go to the Silicon Valley, learn how to raise money, work for a wireless proxy server company, Then after that, get a job into the handheld space and somehow become the CEO of the biggest handheld company in the world. Then retire, buy real estate, invest, be an angel investor, then lose everything. And that's how you get there. That story tells me that you have to allow things to happen, that you have to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential. Your potential as a parent, your potential as a sibling, your potential as a son, daughter, your potential as a businessman or woman, your potential as a community member, a world leader, a thought leader, a producer, an actor, whatever it is. If you're going to do it, live it inspired and be of service and pursue your potential and enjoy it. And when you do that, more of it will come. More of it will keep coming because the laws of attraction, what energy you carry is the energy you attract. And so we need to raise our awareness to the energy that we carry. The second unconscious competency that people don't understand is the genetic one. And it's really interesting because I've been studying a lot about genetics. We have a code, our DNA. And we are programmed to have an outcome. We have our character, we have our personality traits. And so in my coaching, I train people to be aware of patterns. And it goes beyond just money and success, and it goes to addictions and personality traits. Are you somebody that gets frustrated quickly, right? And I want you to pick up on this because this is part of your genetics. And what I've learned about genetics that's really cool is there's a layer over your DNA. An exogenetic layer that you actually can activate and deactivate your own DNA, including health. I've seen all kinds of addicts turn it off. My business partner, Leigh Steinberg, was a terrible alcoholic. I spent millions of dollars in rehab. And what saved Leigh's life and why he's a recovering alcoholic for the last 10 years is because he deactivated his genetics. He made the choice, he did the work, but he actually deactivated. So we need to be aware of consciously what we think, say, and do. So when we think something negative, we need to cancel it. We simply need to cancel it. When you think something negative, cancel it. If you start believing it, you have to clear your mind. And if it keeps on coming back, if some of you are like me, that maybe have spent a few nights, can't go to bed, or you wake up worried in the morning about something that's never going to happen, all that wasted energy, that's when you need to connect to that which inspires you. I meditate every morning for 20 minutes. And the reason I meditate is not some great sense of wisdom. It's simply to know the baseline of being centered and at peace. To me, it's a matter of productivity and accessibility. I think of my life throughout as a big hill, and there's a car on top of this big hill, like in San Francisco. And in the morning, I want my car to be sitting there stable in the morning on top of the hill, and all it takes to keep the car on top of the hill is one finger. But what most people do, including me, is this car starts going down the hill. And instead of going back to center and pushing it right back up with one finger, we let the car keep coming all the way downhill, and then we wonder when it's time to come home why we're run over. Why do we feel run over? Because you let the car, the momentum of the universe, run you over. You didn't go back to center. One of my mentors taught me the analogy is, you know, the martial arts, not the Jewish guilt martial arts, but the real martial arts guys, and they have 12 people surrounding them like this. And I'm watching, I'm like, how is it that they can react to 12 different things at once? And my mentor said, you're looking at it the wrong way. It's not that they're multitasking at all. They don't have any greater sense of awareness than you other than one. They've learned to go back to center faster. So they see the attack, and they go back to center. Then the next attack, they come back to center. The car is always on top of the hill, so they have clarity, balance, and focus in their life. They're able to handle every single thing and not waste energy, which allows them, of course, to be of service. Think about in your life how much energy you wasted with all the needs of the ego. Number one, the need to be right. Anybody here ever had the need to be right? Drive with your wife? I've almost been divorced for driving my need to be right. Here's a big one for me, the need to be offended. The need to be offended. Think how many times we've had a need to be offended. I remember my brother, who I've done a lot for, had 2 tickets to the San Diego Padre game. Now, I can get my own tickets to the Padres. My ex-partner owned the Padres. It's not a really big deal, but for some reason, he invited my younger brother, not me. I was so offended. I was so offended. I not only let it ruin my day, but I let it ruin my relationship for like 2 weeks because somehow I had the need to be offended. So I finally called my mom and she said, "Is everything okay because you haven't called your brother?" And I told her how pissed I was because he didn't invite me to the Padre game. And she said, "Why didn't you just buy your own ticket and go with him?" I'm like, "Well, because he should have invited me, not Brett, my younger brother." She goes, "Do you ever think about maybe Brett was standing right next to him when he got the 2 tickets? And so he turned to his brother and said, 'You want to go to the game with me?'" I built up this entire scenario out of my ego to be offended. Think in our business, as franchisees, the need to be right and the need to be offended. I told Don yesterday, my dad had a great piece of advice when I owned a franchise. He said, "Dave, if you don't like someone, wish upon them employees and overhead." It's a great tool. You know, they think you're complimenting. "Oh man, I hope you open 6 more stores. That's way more. You have so many more great employees to handle. Boy, all those leases and that's gonna be perfect for you." God, that's a good friend, isn't he? I read Machiavelli as well. But we need to go back to center. So I meditate to find my sense of peace and joy, and I go back to center. Just 20 minutes. Now, talking about the consistency part, I tell people all the time, 5 minutes of meditation a day is worth more than an hour on a Saturday. Same thing with being of service. Same thing with golf. You're much better off practicing golf 30 minutes a day than playing every Saturday. In fact, I promise you, with the right mentorship, if you practice golf 30 minutes a day for a year, you will be a much, much better golfer, guaranteed. And if you play golf every Saturday, 50% chance you'll be worse than you were on January 1st. Those are the golfers laughing, I know. But we need to do things consistently. Why? Because what happens is, when we do something every day, we have a cellular memory. And this includes kindness. It includes being of service. It includes being happy. It includes practicing whatever skill set that you think you need. But if you do it every single day, it gets into your cellular memory. And then it goes from your cellular memory into your subconscious. And what happens when it's in your subconscious is there's neural pathways that are formed in your brain that make things more efficient and effective for what you want, simply by doing it every day for a certain amount of time. In fact, there's 10,000 new thoughts or data inputs a day that we get. And so we want to start controlling how positive they are and what we want those data inputs to be, so it starts programming our cellular structure, because eventually it gets to the 40,000 of the same thoughts we have every day. Your subconscious mind has 40,000 of the same thoughts. So if you're wondering why you can't break through, or why you are not consistently, persistently enjoying the pursuit of your potential, why you can't make more money, why you're living in a world of just enough or not enough, it's because subconsciously you've already programmed yourself with 80% of your thoughts being exactly what you got yesterday. And even worse, those subconscious thoughts, those neural pathways that are formed, are the things that program what? Our DNA, which also has an electrical current that runs through it, which is our energy, which is the most important thing, because energy is what attracts like energy. I was flying to India, and this is part of my transformation. My wife is very spiritual. When I owned all that shit, and I egomaniac, and excuse my language, I was an asshole, and I don't know why she stayed with me. But When I was lost, she would tell me, I'd say, literally, something stupid like, do they know who I am? And she's like, oh my gosh, you're so lost. She was so much more enlightened than I was. So I go on an airplane, and I'm flying, and this wonderful lady next to me turns and says to me, this is at the height of, I'll make up the word, assholeness. At the height of my assholeness, she looks at me and she says, are you okay? I looked at her and I said, yeah, of course I'm okay. Do you know who I am? Like in my head, I go, yeah, of course I'm okay. Why? She goes, because you have so much light and you're blocking it. Now I'm rolling my eyes going, oh my God, I wish my wife was sitting here. I go, okay, thank you. I'm okay. She said, do you meditate? And I looked at her and said, no, meditation are for people that like to sit at home high on their mom's couch and do nothing. I make everything happen in my life. I grew up with nothing, and I just start bragging about what I did and how I made it happen. And she said, that's great, but I can still, through meditation, I can teach you to vibrate faster. Now I'm a little scared that this is a trip to India. So I pretend to read. She looks over, and I had to ask her, I said, what does vibration have to do with meditation? She said, well, everything vibrates. The earth vibrates the slowest, then plants, animals, humans, then sound, then light, and then thought. And then she said something that rocked my world. She said, do you know what thought vibrates the fastest? And I was searching my mind thinking, money? I don't know. She said, the truth. The truth vibrates the fastest. I got hair on my arm that just stood up. And she said, and guess what, David? You can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. So I'd like to teach you meditation to raise your vibration so you can be aware of the truth. That seemed like a really great thing to me. And so she invited me to go to a workshop about quantum healing and theta meditation. And I called my wife. When I got off the plane, I said, hey, I'm going to stay 2 extra days in India to go to this workshop on quantum healing and theta meditation. And I know at first she probably thought, are you sober? And then 2, what is this? This is a medical doctor, this lady. What does she look like? What's her name? But of course, she encouraged me to go, and it changed my life. And one of the best lessons of this entire presentation is the truth vibrates the fastest. Your truth vibrates the fastest. And in order to vibrate faster, you have to consistently, every day, persistently, without quit, enjoy the pursuit of your potential or truth. Enjoy the pursuit of your potential or truth. Live in a world of more than enough. It's simply through gratitude, empathy, accountability that you can have more than enough, you can live more than enough, and you can give more than enough, simply by being of service. My life's mission is to empower others to be happy. And I'm extremely grateful for this time. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was so awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Thank you.
I've done many speakers before, and I gotta say that was the best ever. I just learned so much from that.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not.
Wow.
That was the coolest. What is that
Quantum healing
and
theta meditation.
Where do I do that?
Doc, I'll email you. Give you a card.
Yeah.
I'll give you the.
Okay, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a huge compliment. You guys are awesome.
Real pleasure. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, David. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Really
we'll see you
enjoyed
again.
that. Thank
You got
you.
my card too?
I do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Whatever I can do to be of service, let me know.